Welcome to a special episode of The Wealth Effect. Today marks the 1 year anniversary from when I first posted my first video. Thank you for listening to my pretty much monotone voice. I hope you've learned something along the way. I actually started the podcast to share my thoughts on finance, and I honestly wanted it to be pretty funny at the beginning, but I ran out of jokes by like episode 4 at the very beginning. So I think I'll try to revive that somehow because I think I'm the type of person that's pretty funny and I do enjoy making people smile and laugh. It's just hard to come up with these jokes and when it comes to finances. I also found it pretty hard to keep a constant schedule, especially with a lot of like life events going on in the background. So I'll try to keep that up a bit more. I didn't think many people would listen. It actually took over 5 months to actually get some listeners on the podcast. And I managed the whole thing by myself, which wasn't too bad once I got into the workflow. But I was kind of discouraged at the beginning because I kind of did hope to get a few more listeners early on since I was spending quite a bit of money on ads and trying to get the show out there. I also had spent quite a bit of amount on the equipment, but that's just simply a tax write off. And when I first started recording, I didn't actually realize how monotone my voice actually was. I really thought I was expressing myself. So I think it's definitely something I'm trying to practice more on the microphone because in person, I think I'm not that monotone, but pretty funny for my friends. So, what can you expect for the next year in the Wealth Effect? There will hopefully be more jokes, things to laugh about, or maybe some joke topics to change it up a bit so it's not so boring, but you'll learn something. I do want to do a bi weekly news recap on global economics and how we might be seeing a double bubble next year with AI and precious metals. So stay tuned for that. I also wanted to do more interviews, but I'm starting to get a little more picky on who I actually bring onto the show. Since the show has grown, I actually have to more carefully vet the people I interview since I've gotten a lot more requests to have people on the show. I do definitely want to see who fits best because I used to just accept anyone that wanted to be on the show just to get an episode out. But now that there's more listeners and I feel like more responsibility to have a variety of people that you can learn from, I definitely need to filter everyone through. And I actually wanted to do redo my intro since the very start because I thought it was pretty bad, but I just wanted to put it out there. However, I'll keep breaking that intro into small, dedicated episodes on its own since I think it'll actually take a very long time to do the intro again. But in the meantime, I'll remind you who I am. My name is Green Moon, or also known as Alvin. I'm just a random kid from the south side of Chicago raised by a single immigrant mother who was born in Mexico in a tiny little village or pueblo. She was orphaned at around the age of 9 and left her country to explore and make something of herself. And I didn't come from money. When I was younger, we moved around 5, 6 times and we lost our first house and eventually got a previously abandoned house that we fixed up and called our home. I helped my mom clean stores by mainly picking up trash because I wasn't very good at washing windows or fast enough to mop or sweep. So that was primarily my duty outside. I did enjoy waking up at 5 a.m. to help my mom in the summers to do that. The thing that got me more excited was actually just being with her and just hanging out, trying to make jokes to make her laugh. Living in these rough areas and seeing my mom work through these conditions, plus a bloodline from my mom to want to achieve something bigger than anyone in our situation could possibly fathom. In less than one generation, it went from my mom being a poor orphan in the middle of nowhere in Mexico to me basically being able to give her anything she could want. But we don't live in a super fancy, rich house or anything. We still like to work. Plus, she gets bored. And so do I. I honestly do get bored a lot. That's just crazy to me. To say it took less than one generation, about 23 years, which was when I first made my first million. Looking back, I still find it crazy that I was able to accomplish this with all the sacrifice and planning that it took out of me. I made my first million through digital assets like Bitcoin, and I'm extremely pro crypto, but you might not get that from me from these episodes, as I do understand it's not for everyone. And now I think I'm at another crossroads in life, still trying to figure it out, trying to still enjoy it while still building my wealth to one day start a nonprofit that helps kids like me, kids who grew up in bad areas with big dreams that people were scared to even imagine, who went to schools where teachers went to help the underprivileged and got meals from the community like Meals on Wheels, and whose parents came from countries looking for a better life. I'd like to think that I'm humble, but there are moments where my ego will show, and it's pretty, I guess, terrible. And I don't have a real problem with that because in the end, all I want to do is help kids believe in their dreams. So thank you for hearing me out and hope you keep listening for at least the next year.